If you want a strong autumn harvest, then now is the time to act. So stick around and I'll show you what I'm sowing and what I'm planting. First thing we're going to do is to sow an autumn staple for myself and Mrs. W, and that's Swede. Now some people, they sow their Swede much earlier than this. I would say not. And the reason for that is that Swede are a brassica. They're a cool weather vegetable. If you plant them out now in late May, June or July, it's going to be boiling hot. They will have already put on an enormous amount of growth. That's when you can see a problem with bolting, because they don't like the heat. Of course, if you live in a climate where it's much cooler, that's fine. But for us here on our Zone 9A garden, a late May sowing means that we plant young plants out toward the end of June, and they just need to grow away during July and August. The weather then starts to cool down, right at the time when they want to start making their root, which, of course, is what we want to eat. Another reason why I only sow them at this time of the year is that, quite frankly, I don't want to be eating Swede in September. For us, it's an autumn staple that we like to enjoy along with the leeks and the squash that will be available during October, November and December. So a lot of things that are growing in this small space that I call our back garden or our veg plot. And the one thing that we do like to do is to eat in season as much as we can. That's one of the best strategies if you want to feed yourself for as long as you can throughout the 12 months of the year. We don't go overboard with brassicas like we do in the winter months, because we've got things like peas, beans. They're soon going to be ready. We will have lovely summer harvesting carrots, young, crunchy, and so very, very tasty, along with our first early potatoes that we're currently harvesting. And, of course, by then, by the time we get to June and July, then it's time for another of Mrs. W's favourites, which is the amazing second early Charlotte potato.
Oh yes.
One of the reasons why you sow your brassicas back in February and March is that they'll do a lot of their growing when the weather is still quite cool. And then they will then give us harvests in June and July. And then of course the ones that you want to eat right at the very end of the year and through into the following year, like the Swede, you won't be sowing until now, or indeed through June. So they don't have too long to grow in the really hottest time of the year. Now I'm growing two varieties this year. This one is a variety called Tweed, Swede Tweed. But we actually tried a new variety last year called Helena, didn't we?
We did.
And it performed really, really well for us.
Yes.
So I'm going with those two this year. Now with Swedes, they are a brassica, and just as I do with all my brassicas, I'm aiming for 2 seeds per cell. And then we shall thin to the strongest seedling. It does really increase the chance of you getting something in each cell. Next I want to plant out my leeks. When you're planting out leeks, what you want to be able to do is to have a straight line so that everything is uniform and you can get the right distances. When I plant my leeks, I space them 6 inches within the rows and 12 inches between the rows. It has been so dry here in Norfolk. We have seen no meaningful rain now since the beginning of March. It's quite a long time, and the ground is actually quite hard. So a little tip for you. Make your first sort of dib in there, because these holes want to be about 6 inches deep. And then find yourself a Mrs. W who will go around behind you and then put some water in the holes. When you go back to dib the second time, you'll get down to the desired depth. Now, one thing I don't do is to grow my leeks like you see some other people. Not that there's anything wrong with it whatsoever. I know people like Charles Dowding, they multi-sow leeks and put them into the dibbed holes. And he doesn't actually dib his holes as deep as mine. But I'm quite a stickler for leeks. I like a nice white shank. And for me, I haven't turned over this soil. In fact, none of these plots have been dug for 5 years now, isn't it? 2020
Yes,
we went over to no dig.
Yeah, this one was one of our first
Yeah.
plots, wasn't it, that we
It
actually
was.
turned into no dig, this one and plot. So plot 4 and plot 1 were our first two that we started our no dig journey on.
It was. So, for me, no dig is disturbing the soil as little as possible. Because it's no good having a method of growing something and you can't grow them the way you want. What was that, Mrs. W?
I don't know.
Perhaps somebody's got pigeon problems on their allotment.
Oh dear. I wouldn't resort to that.
No.
I just like to keep them out with the EnviroMesh.
Yeah, just cover them. So yeah, it's no good actually having a method and you can't grow something the way you want to. You need to find ways around that. And by disturbing your soil as little as possible, we can still grow our vegetables the way we want. This soil hasn't been turned over, hasn't been inverted. But we'll be able to plant our leeks in the traditional way and get lovely white shanks. Here are our leeks. And you'll know when it's time to plant them out because they want to be around about the thickness of a pencil. Now these have been standing in some water, so they should come out relatively easy. There we are. You can see that the roots have now hit the bottom, so they're ready to go out. And by growing them like this, it takes up less space for you to keep them. And all you need to do is just to tease them apart. There we are. Now in the past, and my dear old dad, bless him, he was the same, he would snip the tops and snip the roots. But I haven't done that for many a year now, and we get really lovely leeks. So if you hear that, you don't need to do it. Why would you want to stop that plant? It's got a lovely root system and lovely leaves. And all we need to do is to pop it into the hole. It's one of those little bees from the last video, Mrs. W.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, busy bees.
And you just leave it like so. Then what you want to do, once you've planted them all out, is to take your watering can and then fill the hole up with water. Now as that drains away, it's going to wash enough soil over the bottom of the roots so that it can get away.
But you don't backfill it, do you? You just leave the holes open. It
Yes.
took me a little while to get used to that idea.
Whatever you do, do not backfill the hole. The reason why we want those holes is so that as the leek grows, it's got enough space to actually expand and get those lovely leeks that we want. We don't want them to stay pencil size. We want them more like that. Now you can see here that there's something in the way. It's actually some elephant garlic. And we planted this as a tiny little bulbil, didn't we?
Bulbul, yes. Yeah, we did. And, well, we planted a lot, but that was the only one that did anything.
Yeah.
It took ages to do.
And last year we left it there, so it was then what they call a monobulb. Now that monobulb should now turn into like you would normally expect to see a clove or a bulb of elephant garlic. It should split and we should have cloves. So I'm leaving that there for now. We've got more than enough leeks. There's 80 leeks that we've planted in here, so really, really happy with that. They went in a good size, and hopefully this year we shall have some lovely thick white shanks to eat this coming autumn and also through the winter period. Now, we've grown two varieties. The ones on this side are Bulgarian Giant, and the ones on this side, it's an Italian one, isn't it, called Giant Inverno. I'm hoping that because they've been called giants, they're going to be big.
We shall see.
Probably seen on the last couple of videos that I've now uncovered the onions, because of course leeks belong to the allium family. The danger from allium leaf miner should now have passed, but it will return again. It will come back towards the end of August and through the month of September and also into October. Only this time it will want to lay its eggs, so that when those eggs hatch next spring, they can eat any alliums that you will have planted in that bed. So what does that mean for us? Toward the end of August, cover your leeks. Just like I had the onions covered earlier this year. And then they won't be able to lay their eggs anywhere for them to be able to feed on your leeks. So that's today's sowings and plantings. Both of these will take us deep into the autumn and indeed into the winter months. I always find that Swedes are best harvested before winter gets here. They do store really quite well if they're stored in the right conditions. But with the leeks, they can easily stay in the ground. Just remember that if you are expecting a frost, harvest them before that frost arrives, because it will be difficult to get into the soil to loosen it to get your leeks out. One of the joys of gardening in this way is knowing you're always planting something and always looking ahead. They may seem like little jobs that you're doing, but they will bring food to your table further down the line as we get through the year. Are you growing leeks and Swede this year? If you are, do leave us a comment. Let us know what you are growing and what food you hope to have available as autumn comes along and as we go through into winter. If you like this video, do give us a thumbs up. And of course, if you want to continue to get these tips and tricks that we've learnt over the years, do make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Now, I have spoken about the allium leaf miner. It's becoming a real pest and a major pest here in the United Kingdom. So if you don't know anything about it yet and you want to find out a bit more and what you can do to help against this pest, then watch this video next. Have a great rest of your gardening week, and we shall see you on the next one.